So, a very wise and famous yogi once said, Yogi Berra, catcher for the New York Yankees, he once said that if you don't know where you're going, you might end up somewhere else. And I want to explore this theme today of orientation, of where we are heading in life. I want to explore that concept through various lenses, the usual suspects, Jungian psychology, neuroscience, Buddhism, whatever else helps explain it. But I want to explore that concept of forward movement and how key that is to the human organism and how psychologically important that theme is of direction. Um, where we are heading. If we don't know where we're heading, then we're going to end up somewhere else. So heading. Heading is a term from sailing. Heading refers to the course that the sailboat is on. And if you've listened to my stuff, you have probably at this point become annoyed at all my sailing metaphors, so I'm just going to switch those up. Now that I'm in Seattle, I'm sailing and not surfing, and so I'm just going to switch it up with sailing metaphors. Um, so a heading in a sailboat is the direction of movement. The destination is where that sailboat is headed, and the heading is where it's currently going. And then the course is the ideal path to that destination. And you can either be on course, heading to your destination, or off course, meaning you're heading somewhere else. And in sailing, that is no bueno, because there's lots of icky things that can happen to you while you're sailing. Maybe the major one is running into something, be that a landmass, another boat, an iceberg, whatever. But if you don't know where you're going in sailing, you're pretty much fucked. I would say the same psychologically. If you don't know where you're going in life, archetypally, behaviorally, if you don't have your priorities straight as far as your hierarchy of values and goals, you are fucked. I know this from personal experience. So what is a sailboat? So there's a saying that I'm not so, I have no way of proving, but saying is God created man in his image. Don't know, maybe. However, I really do believe that human beings made sailboats in their own image, and a sailboat ain't so different than a human being. So, what is a sailboat? A sailboat is a system that is designed to move forward. The entire shape of the boat and the design, based on physics and hydrodynamics, is the whole system is designed to move forward. It's not designed to move sideways, backwards. It's made to move forward, forward towards a destination. What propels the shape encourages that forward movement, and then the propellant of the propulsion of that system is wind, which is a beautiful thing, or an engine that moves the boat forward, and then a rudder, which controls the direction, the heading of the boat. What else? It has got a keel too, which provides stability. The keel prevents the sailboat from tipping over or moving sideways, and it encourages forward movement and stability. Psychological equivalent of that would be, of course, resilience and stress tolerance. That's the keel on the boat. Propulsion system in the boat, human equivalent of that is the neurotransmitter dopamine. That is the neurotransmitter that motivates us in a particular direction. And oh yeah, one thing I really forgot to mention, super important to this theme, is that a sailboat has a compass, or a GPS, modern equivalent of that. And the compass provides feedback. And the feedback is, are you on course or are you off course? Are you heading towards your destination or are you not? And that feedback mechanism of the compass is so key to sailing because if you ever get 20 miles offshore, the human eye, land disappears. The curvature of the earth, land disappears around 20 miles offshore. So if you're out sailing in the open ocean, there is literally nothing to orient to. It's 360 degrees of water. It all looks the same. And if you're in the open ocean and you're heading for Hawaii, if you're off course, you're going to end up in Russia or Australia or the Great Barrier Reef, run aground. So having no feedback mechanism of knowing if you're on course or off course, in sailing, there's a word for that. That means you're fucked. You are toast. Like, if you don't know where you are and you don't have any feedback mechanism, you're just lost at sea. Psychological equivalent of that, lost at sea. That is this American euphemism for someone who's lost it. That guy is lost at sea. Another one is he's out to lunch. Other ones are like Charlie Sheen. He's gone off the rails, bro. Or she has lost the plot. Lost the plot. What are other ones? Oh, these are good. Lost the plot, flip the script, something like that. Anyways, these are all of the psychological equivalents for losing our direction and our feedback mechanism and what is orienting ourselves. What are we orienting towards? What is our destination as human beings? Yeah. Oh, another tying together of this metaphor is, I don't know, if you're I don't know, say you're sitting on the coast of Washington. And another thing about sailing is there's no roads. So every direction is possible, except up or down. Well, down is possible. You don't want to take that journey. You can't go up, but everything is on the table. You can go in absolutely every direction. No roads. So if you're on the coast of Washington and you're looking at a chart of all your options, it's like, geez, I could go to Canada. I could go to Alaska. I could go to Fiji. I could go to Hawaii, Tahiti. I could go to Japan. I could go to Russia. I could go to Bora Bora. I can go anywhere. This gets really tricky. So psychological equivalent of that is our hierarchy of values, or our what is most important to us? What are our goals? And how do we even suss out what our goals are? Where is this boat headed? And in neuroscience, there's a whole system in biology that kind of controls that function. It's called the salience network. And the salience network, simply put, is that whatever we choose or chooses us as our destination, the salience network orients to that of what our destination is, and then sees everything in our environment that is salient to that destination. So I don't know, I just went through a very painful process of shopping for a sailboat, and for about 2 months my salience network was just sailboat, sailboat, sailboat. So I don't know. I would just be walking down the street and I just see like someone wearing a sailing jacket in my salience network would just like focus in on guy in a sailing jacket. And if I wasn't in that state, my salience network probably wouldn't be interested in that. Um, Told this in a previous talk. Had an old roommate who was a heroin addict, and everywhere he went, all he saw was heroin dealers. So the salience network is mediated by dopamine and seeks out in our environment what's going to give us the biggest dopamine hit, and then is going to focus in on that as the destination. Salience. This is important to my goal. This is the destination. Okay, so tricky here because just like sailing, everything, uh, not everything, but within the realms of geography and physics, every destination on Earth that has a coastline is on the table. You could go literally anywhere if you had enough time and courage and money and foolishness. You could go anywhere. So how do you decide where to go? Um, and all of a sudden, we have delved into the realm of existentialism and world religion. How the fuck do we decide where to go? And where is our sailboat of self headed towards? And if we don't know that, we're going to end up somewhere else. And in modern day, this is especially true because some of the best brains in the world are working really hard on your salience network to get you to pay attention to certain destinations that don't necessarily serve you. They serve the shareholders of Silicon Valley startups. So there's a lot of brain power and dark psychology around hijacking your salience network and pointing you towards a Bermuda Triangle of, I don't know, a capitalist hell realm in my opinion. So, if you don't decide where you're going, especially modern day, others will decide that for you. So, in Buddhism, there's to me, a beautiful tradition. So, on a Buddhist retreat, or you go to the Buddhist monastery in Asia, or locally wherever you're at, and you go to a Buddhist retreat, a very traditional thing to do in Theravada traditions, I'm not sure about others, is that in the morning you chant refuges. So in other words, you do little chants that remind you of where your boat is headed. And the classics ones are, I go to the Buddha for refuge, and I go to the Dharma for refuge, and I go to the Sangha for refuge. In other words, I'm going for Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Buddha means fully awake, fully aware, eyes wide open, showing up for life. Buddha means awake, present. Dharma is the one I want to really focus in on today. Dhamma in Pali, Dharma in Sanskrit. Amazing word. In every language is one of my favorite words of every language. Dharma is a word that has no English equivalent. Dharma has multiple meanings. One is nature. The Dharma is nature, or the foundation of existential reality. or the law of nature. Yeah, another one is the law, another one is the way it is. And then, very interestingly, it also means the path. It means the course. It's the path. It's the truth and the path, or it's the path to the truth. Uh, so it's a very beautiful, in my opinion, thing to orient towards the truth. The truth will set you free. This is beautiful in many ways to me because eh, I don't like American bullshit. This is a country full of, I don't know, this is everywhere in the world, but Americans are especially good at bullshitting. It's like advertise advertising and just bullshit and falsehood and like pushing in an agenda, trying to, manipulate other people into buying your product and all of this bullshit. And I just love that truth, like, you can just, I just got an inner image of a sailboat cutting through a river of shit, just a river of bullshit, and the sailboat just cutting through that on destination, reality, and truth. Beautiful. What is another interpretation of taking refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha is taking refuge in what is good, what is true, and what is beautiful, and steering your ship in that direction. This gets complicated. Let's bring in some sailing metaphors. Okay, so yeah, and let me back up a little bit. So in Buddhism, the idea is that the Dharma is a path, and that everyone, it's only a matter of time, is going to deviate from that path. They are going to be on the path, and then they're going to lose it. They're going to be steering their boat towards goodness, truth, and beauty, and love and compassion, and all of that good stuff, and altruistic love for all beings in all directions and all times. They're going to be on that path, followers of the Buddha, and then we're human beings, so we're going to lose it. We're gonna lose it. We're gonna lose the plot. We're gonna go off the rails. We're gonna forget. And what's really interesting in Buddhism is, the word that's often translated as mindfulness is a Pali word that it's sati. And a better translation than mindfulness is remembering. So mindfulness, which implies a non-judgmental awareness of the present moment, seeing things as they are, that is remembering the truth. So there's forgetting, mindfulness, and then there's remembering. And as soon as you remember, as soon as you're aware, as soon as you're present, as soon as the mind is oriented in curiosity towards the truth, then you're back on track. For about 3 seconds until you lose the path again. So in the Buddhist tradition, there are multiple reminders day to day to be mindful. And, on a Buddhist retreat, there's often mindfulness bells going off all the time. So there's like a bell in the morning, and then the bell at the beginning of the sit, and at the end, and just bells, 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 bells. And then the bells are just reminders. And it's like, hey, remember your North Star, Buddha Dharma Sangha, the path to the end of suffering. That's the destination. Remember who you are and what you're going for. And then you're gonna have that for 5 seconds, and then you're gonna be like, you're gonna lose the path. On a meditation retreat, you get very good at noticing what causes you to lose the path, and everyone's got their own little thing that lets them lose the path. For me, it's like desire and anger. It's like I'm on retreat. Oh, I'm oriented. May all beings be happy and free and full of love, and let me see the truth and reality. And then I deviate from the path, and then I might notice my mind start to scheme of, ooh, how can I get women to find me more attractive? Or, yeah, or how do I jump the fence of this fucking retreat and go to the nearest, I don't know, hedonistic enterprise? Which brings me to my next point. So, what makes this whole idea complex or tricky is that using this metaphor of the sailboat, we are a sailboat, and this sailboat has a lot of crew members. There's a lot of crew members on this boat, if you hadn't noticed. It's not just one captain driving the boat. There's a lot. Psychoanalysis, Freud called these drives. We have conflicting drives, the drives of the id and the ego and the superego, the primitive drives of sexual gratification and aggression, and all of these different systems with their own agenda in internal family systems. They're called parts or subparts, psychological subparts in other traditions. We've got our inner child, our hurt, traumatized inner child with its own agenda. We've got the broody inner nihilistic teen with his agenda. We've got the inner wise man with his agenda. We've got just the misanthrope that just wants to see it all burn. And we have this cast of characters that are all on the same boat. And in sailing, there is a very, it's almost like a mythological concept. It's called mutiny. And by the way, my teens, I got a captain's license. So, you get a captain's license, and you get a lot of power with that captain's license. Like I can marry people. My license is expired now, but I had, getting a captain's license, a lot of work. 365 days on the water, yada yada. But then you get to marry people. You get a lot of power out at sea as the captain. A lot of respect too. It's kind of a little intoxicating as the captain. You might develop an illusion that you're under control. And up until like the 1920s, the captain could literally kill members of his crew with no judge. He was judge, jury, and executioner. As long as he had a good reason when he came back to port of why he killed the second mate, he could literally kill them. Because leadership was so important on a sailboat. Like, if there was conflicting ideas of where the destination was, that's called a mutiny. And that shit happened a lot. It's like Captain Bligh is like, hey, we got to bring the breadfruit back to Europe. And oh, I forget who threw the mutiny on the Bounty, but I don't know. Anyways, the mutineers were like, fuck that. We're not going there. We're going over here to Pitcairn Island. And so there's conflict in destination. And this happens all the time in human psychology. It's called ambivalence. It's called conflicting parts. It's also called incongruence. In psychoanalysis, it's called splitting. There are literally different aspects of self that have a different agenda of where this boat should go. Um, yeah, so tricky, right? Devil, angel, similar concept. Well, Gillian Welsh, I want to do right, but not right now. I want to love all beings everywhere and orient towards the truth, but jumping the monastery fence and going to the bar sounds really good right about now. So, all of these conflicting desires. Um, Another level of complexity here is, a lot of times, kind of self-help, new agey, you know, traditions. They'll often say things like trust your gut, follow your intuition. That's really tricky. You can trust your gut right off a cliff. It depends on what aspect of yourself you are feeling in your gut that is driving the sailboat, driving the bus. It's tricky. Another level of trickiness here. Okay, so one way to understand trauma, like simply put, trauma really fucks with the compass. It just spins it. Trauma is the Bermuda Triangle. It really messes with orientation of where this boat is going. One of the ways it does that is, yeah, I'm reminded of, there's this research, I think it's from the 70s. It's pretty unethical. Probably couldn't do it today, but anyways, they bring the son of one of the researchers, like I think he was a 5-year-old, 4-year-old, and they put him in a room. And in the room, it's just, the scientists are watching him behind the glass. And in the room, there's a white rat. And every time the boy approaches the white rat, the asshole scientist behind the the window hit a button and play an extremely loud aversive sound, like a siren. Extremely loud. Freaks out the nervous system of 4-year-old. 4-year-old nervous system is pretty sensitive. You can see that in anxiety response in the 4-year-old, like shaking, like self-soothing, comforting, and in the 4-year-old's alone. And then, it has that nervous system reaction. And then after a short time, reorients and is like, oh, cool, a white rat. And gets curious about the white rat again and then moves towards the white rat. And then the scientists go, bah, ah! So I think they did that 3 times. And after 3 times, that little boy wanted nothing to do with white rats. Just looking at a white rat caused anxiety, implicit anxiety response or a introceptive anxiety response, meaning not rational, just a conditioning response, stimulus response. There was also interesting aspect of this research was little boy didn't like white rats, also didn't like guys in white lab coats, and didn't like white cars. So the conditioning system kind of is diffuse. It's like a shotgun, if you will. And it's the human nervous system trying to calibrate towards threat, like what is dangerous, what is safe. And it's that system is easily hijackable. I just had the thought like, that conditioning, unless you do good trauma work or decondition it with behaviorism, that's gonna stick. It sticks for a lifetime, unless it's deconditioned. So there's another one with rats where they gave a rat the smell of a cherry blossom and then shocked it. So the rat associated cherry blossom with electrocution. Did that like 5 times. The rat would go into a panic attack every time it smelled cherry blossoms with no electrical stimulation. So just the cherry blossoms. That conditioning lasted 7 generations with no restimulus, meaning 7 generations later, the great 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 grandson of the originally traumatized rat had a panic attack while smelling cherry blossoms. That shit's intense and insane. Okay, so, and I had the thought too, like this 6-year-old, if he's smart, then he's really fucked. Because the intellect can come up with a very good rationalization of why you can't trust white things. And he might even write his PhD thesis on why you can't trust white things. And it's called rationalization. So there's this implicit brainstem limbic system process that has its roots in early conditioning, and then a rationalization on top of it that explains the behavior. Makes this whole, like, where are we going, more complicated, more complex, because the hallmark of trauma is that what is good for us is not always pleasant, and what is bad for us can be very pleasant. And I don't have time in this talk, but you can explain that further through the reenactment compulsion. That, I don't know, maybe quickly, the sailing metaphor for that is the siren. So Ulysses is on his journey. He's going to Troy to burn that fucker down, or he's coming back, I can't remember. And there's these sirens, these archetypal, seductresses that sing to the sailors, and it's like, oh, come hang out with us. And their song is so intoxicating that the sailors forget all about their destination. They're like, never mind, I'm gonna jump off the boat now, go hang out with these ladies. And then when they get close, they get devoured by the mermaid. So in trauma, mermaids become very attractive, and the destination becomes less. This theme is everywhere. Dorothy, she's on the yellow brick road. She's heading to Oz. And then she gets stuck in the poppy fields, and she's just, let me just take a little nap. Just take a little rest here in the poppy fields. And then she forgets about her journey. And yeah. So, all right. I'm opening up a lot of complexity here, and I'm not giving a lot of solution. And I'm just pointing it out of, if our conditioning system of like what, in psychology, it's called approach avoid. If that approach avoid system is off, maybe from early childhood trauma, then that compass is going to be pointing us right towards the sirens and away from what is in our highest good. There's I think my favorite episode of Seinfeld was George Costanza. He starts out the episode and he's unemployed and he's living with his parents and he's single, and women just are not interested in him in the least. By the way, if you're a guy listening to this, if you have lost your way, I think women have a structure deep in their brain that can tell if you are on your path or off it. And if you are off it, their attraction tends to go way down. So little incentives for the heterosexual men out there to find their way if they're interested in attracting a mate. Anyways, that was a little diversion. But anyways, George Costanza starts out single, unfuckable, um, living with his parents, unemployed. He decides at the beginning of the episode, I'm going to do the exact opposite of trusting my gut. I'm going to do the exact opposite of my impulse. And by the end of the episode, so his compass is pointing north and he would just go south, just the exact opposite. And by the end of the episode, he gets a job with the New York Yankees. Oh, the Yankees are back. He moves out of his parents' house and he gets a girlfriend. He becomes fuckable. Wow. Yeah, archetypally playing out. Geez, there's another one where I think my favorite James Bond movie was Skyfall. And the plot of that one is that, James Bond at the beginning of the movie, he experiences a betrayal or a trauma, if you will, between himself and M, who is his superior. So he feels betrayed by M, and then he takes his ball and goes home, and, the MI6 thinks he's dead, but he's just off grid in Jamaica, just drinking himself into oblivion. He's lost his way. And then the whole plot of the movie is him finding himself again, finding his path. There's another one, Austin Powers, where Dr. Evil steals his mojo. And Austin Powers is, I've lost me mojo. I've lost my path. Oh, okay. We're going up there in time, but just a couple thoughts I have at the end here. It's yeah, when there are major transitions in life, these tend to be the most psychologically intense and fraught times, and this is when what we have oriented towards is no longer doing it for us, spiritually, psychologically, on a soul level. It's what Joseph Campbell called the midlife crisis. Joseph Campbell referred to the midlife crisis as climbing a ladder only to realize it's against the wrong wall. So in other words, you've been heading on a destination, maybe dedicated a lot of your life to a particular destination, and then the midlife crisis is realizing, oh shit, now that I'm here, I don't want to be in Japan. I actually want to be in Hawaii. And so you got to course correct. And that course correct is uber painful, brings people to their knees, and it's really almost, egos build themselves on direction. And so to shift direction, that is a death. That is a death of an ego structure and a rebirth. So that's a change of career. That's a change of relationship, divorce, or end of a long-term relationship. It's the beginning of a relationship. That's the moving geographically. That is children, empty nest syndrome. Reinvention. Or course corrections. And these tend to be the most stressful, psychologically fraught times. And people can, and in Buddhism, there's a metaphor or archetypal realm for that called the bardo. And the bardo means the in-between. The bardo means you've left Japan and you have not yet arrived. Well, you've not yet course corrected to Hawaii, and so your compass is just spinning. Who am I? Where am I? Huh. And so, for every religious tradition has ways of course correcting, remembering, orienting to the highest good, orienting to the highest truth, the highest good, and the highest beauty, and realizing we're going to lose that. So just had this memory of like, if you've ever been to a Muslim country, the call to prayer, like 5 times a day on the loudspeaker, just to me, it's beautiful. It's just, hello, and I can't, I probably shouldn't be doing that. That's probably politically incorrect, but yeah, it just brings chills to the back of my spine. And then everyone just stops everything and then just orients, even in the direction of Mecca. They orient towards that highest good 5 times a day. And, we all need those reminders. What are we going for? Because if we don't know that, we can end up somewhere else. All right, that feels like enough for one day. Am I forgetting anything? I don't think so. Well, if you made it this far, thanks for listening. And it's kind of like a New Year's resolution to do more of these and just be more content producing. So feel free to hold me accountable to that. Send me a text. Stay on your course, bro, with your creative content expression, because I can deviate. This is my first video in like 6 months. I've lost my way in this realm. So please give me feedback if you like these videos, and I will continue to hopefully produce them. I'm also, if you want to come to me for nervous system coaching, I'm a marriage and family therapist and specialize in getting your nervous system out of fight, flight, and freeze so that you can actually orient towards what you feel or what your soul feels is the highest good, the most worthwhile destination. All right. Have a great day.